Strat ready to break things down here with Amazing, starting with the beginning of the game and the lane swap. Good concept by ROCCAT, bad execution.
Yeah, they started off pretty well by forcing a flash onto Gnar pretty early. So they basically had the setup to contest Gnar's XP gain that he's trying to get when he's basically in 1v2. But they didn't set up the freeze properly. And when they actually tried to make the play happen, they were not decisive as decisive as they should have been. Therefore, Gnar still got the XP, was healed by Nami, and they basically got through the lane swap without issues, which shouldn't have happened if you forced Summoner early. And Forgiven was able to free farm bottom. They didn't catch the wave early enough, which should have happened too, because Marka had TP, could have even walked bottom, then keep your TP priority for a potential top gank, top dive, whatever it is, which they did in the end, but it was way too late, and they should have made those plays happen earlier, and they missed those opportunities.
You said also that you're generally just not a fan of the XP sharing in the top lane. Was that a fault by SK, and were they actually lucky that ROCCAT didn't capitalize on it?
I'm not a fan of that, because I think if you're basically 2v2 laning with your top laner and support, you're basically setting yourself up for an XP deprived top laner, even though he could potentially even get XP in the 1v2, which he got earlier. So he should have just based, take the hit, and then go, because the freeze was actually set up at some point for ROCCAT, so the wave was pushing into ROCCAT 24/7 anyways. So Nami being top didn't help as much, but the concept worked because ROCCAT was unable to punish it, and they did a good job in the end.
There's two things we can always count on. Forgiven was getting farm, and SK was getting dragons. Yet ROCCAT in the skirmishes mid-game did come out on top, even though SK with that Orianna had a very good team kind of comp.
Yeah, the thing is that SK played pretty greedy. So did ROCCAT at times, and that's why they got punished pretty hard. But the initial fight, which basically got ROCCAT ahead for short term, was that they greedy dominated, and after Freddy already got caught top, you have to make the sacrifice. If someone gets caught, you cannot go aggressive versus a double TP, which they had in TF and in Maokai. They both TP'd basically behind them and allowed for a chase, which SK should have seen coming. But vice versa, ROCCAT returned the favor and did the same mistake in mid, where they just overextend, walk into the turn more or less without any minions with them, and basically get shockwaved and die there.
You said it turned into a game of greed, and we actually have two replays to exemplify that. Let's get the first one up on the screen. They're both around Baron, as that was instrumental in this game. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, basically, ROCCAT just randomly starting Drake, Nash, I mean. They saw Forgiven bottom, hence they went for the play, but the thing is that you can't do that in versus strong 4v4 or 4v5, which SK has as long as they stay as a ball. What SK wants to do is basically have Fox get in rotations out, have Svenskon to see someone, and ready to see someone, and then basically get the burst, the QW of Orianna, then they get the proper shockwave, which SK was able to do because they were never contested in their ball, which happens as soon as the enemy team basically groups up for an objective and doesn't try to flank you. And SK is basically chasing ROCCAT down and allows themselves for early kills.
The Orianna that are flashing forward to get the auto attack off and the kill, very different from the Orianna we saw yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. I think Fox, what he did this game was really insane. I think we'll have another replay later on, or maybe not. But he even put the Orianna ult on himself and flashed into an AD carry, which is just crazy. Like, that guy must be Korean or something. But I've literally not seen that in the US yet so far, and that was pretty crazy.
This is actually the second replay we wanted to show.
That is second replay. So this again, agreed from SK in this case, where what they basically do, they put themselves into a situation where they were at Nash, and they didn't respect that Gnar could be collapsed upon before his passive procs, because TF is able to TP on him, and they can basically collapse him and one-shot him. So ROCCAT is able to one-shot the Gnar and allows themselves for another chase, which sets up for 2 kills now. I think they're gonna get a third. Yeah, in the fourth, basically, on Fox with the E-Flash of Junkos, which is also mechanically well executed. And that's basically it. It was a game of greed, and in the end, SK's greed was lesser than ROCCAT's.
Definitely not Korean, because he whiffed the shockwave there. No, but not taking anything away from Fox. He actually has played very good yesterday as well, and really stepping up in that carry role. And just in this game as well, there was this crucial moment when ROCCAT was back even, and then Forgiven found a way to get the inhibitor down. And I think that's what set SK up also for later, because they knew they would always have that entrance into the base.
Yeah, what SK is really good at doing is basically using the the bust or like the changes to of the season 5 patch that is like the inhib giving you as soon as you have one down, then basically like having stronger minions, etc. Like and basically setting up for it, and the Drake itself and the Nash itself, like which like. As soon as they get a neutral objective, like let's say the 5th Drake, they will snowball that really, really hard. And the same applies for Inhibitor being down, and the same applies for Nash being down. And I think that is crazy to see, and it's one of the only teams that actually abuses that to that standpoint. The only other team competing at that level, and with the objectives coming into the Season 5, is actually H2K in the UIC, I think, and it's pretty great to see.
Yeah, it is fantastic to see. One last thing about ROCCAT, because I do think that they played a solid game here, even though it didn't go in their favor, and it's starting to look a little bit more like the ROCCAT we expect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm almost a fan. I've always been a vocal fan of ROCCAT, because I think when I see that players, I see roster, I see potential. Like we abuse that word, I abuse that word, maybe CLG has abused that word, obviously. But ROCCAT is supposed to win. They're always in the game to a certain extent, but they make 1 or 2 bad calls and it just snowballs from there. And I don't know what the issue is. I don't know where it comes from, where it stems from, and if the coaches are unable to identify it, I can't identify it either. But they have to find that something that basically makes it happen. And if they're not able to do that, like they deserve to be where they are right now.
Yep, and if they want to find it, they'll have to do it very quickly with the season, the split almost ending. Now, coming up in just a few minutes, Elements will chase the Unicorns of Love in the standings as they try to close in on a seat at the spring playoffs. And as Krepo himself said just moments ago, it's time to do or die, so stay with us.
Our first matchup of the day between ROCCAT and SK Gaming. Both of these teams picked up wins yesterday, and both of them were in convincing fashion. Tidal Wave goes out, gold cards onto Enrated, here comes Woolite, that's a huge shockwave, but there's not a lot of damage to follow it up.
Kill Ori, kill Ori, kill Ori.
Yes.
Keep fighting, guys, keep fighting, I got ult, I got ult. Go,
Graves.
I got Rengar. Coming for Rengar, taking Lantern. He's
Rengar.
Nice, guys!
The death sentence hits! Vanders, held Sven's going in place, and Overpower is tanking up SK Gaming. Sven's managed to flash away from the backline. SK Gaming have got the aspect. Overpower once again in the thick of things. Jankos pulling a few members. It's only the tree that's caught by the shockwave. SK Gaming retain control of the European LCS.